Welcome back to The Lit Show. As always, I am your host, Jeremy Fee. Where has the summer gone? It has just disappeared. Today, I'm giving you my reading wrap-up video for the end of June. It's a little bit late, but I hope you'll understand. Summer just disappeared. It's like I went to bed one day. When I woke up the next morning, a whole month, it just disappeared. But at least there's been some good reading along the way. You can see up on the screen the books that I read in June 2023. I do like to put them up in a book battle, and I've been doing it genre horror style this year, trying to figure out what is my favorite genre. And I think about halfway through the year, it's time to admit to myself, I really am still that eclectic individual that I've always thought I was. I don't know if any particular genre is going to win out, but it is fun to determine a best read of the month and plan to pit them up against each other in an end of the year super book battle. June was dominated by June on the Range, a readathon created by Michael K. Vaughan with his buddy Roger supplying Roger's cheapo book club, The Lone Star Ranger by Zane Grey. So we're going to get started with June on the Range under general fiction. Maybe we don't even need to do a book battle because you know what else came out this month? The Stygian Collection. And I am very happy. I'll just declare the Stygian Collection my best read of June 2023. There you go. No book battle needed. Hope you have a good day. Take care. Goodbye. Oh wait, it really isn't fair for me to make the Stygian Collection the best read of the month, even though it clearly is, because I have writing in the collection. If you've not gotten your copy of the Stygian Collection, I highly recommend that you do. You can go to the Stygian Society website, or you can go on Amazon, get yourself a digital copy, a physical copy, both. Why not both? It's a wonderful book to read, and not just because I've got work in it, but a lot of other great authors are in there. People from BookTube and AuthorTube that you would recognize, and I'm sure be delighted to read the writing of. But alright, for real, let's get this book battle going, starting out with Roger's cheapo book club selection, The Lone Star Ranger by Zane Grey. Funny title here, it's not The Lone Ranger. It's the Lone Star Ranger, because Texas, the Lone Star State. This book was alright. Roger picks these books based on what's available for free on the internet. If you are in the mood for some westerns, a nice typical western story, then this would probably satisfy that desire. It is up against Hombre by Elmore Leonard. I'm a huge fan of Elmore Leonard, though I have to admit, I like a lot of his other books more than I liked Hombre. Between these two books, I will pick Hombre to advance in the book battle. Our next set is for fantasy, and we've got an amazing work here. You may know P.L. Stuart from Page Chewing. Steve Talks Books over there started Page Chewing a long time ago with P.L. Stuart as they talk with various authors and guests about what they're reading in different books. Great member of the online BookTube community and a really impressive author. The book is called The Drowned Kingdom. It is the beginning of what is set to be a 7-book series. Thus far, at least 3 of those books are out. It is up against Realm of Enchantment, a mystical anthology, also brought to us by a booktuber, AuthorTuber, P.L. Summers. P.L. Summers compiled the work of several different individuals, some of whom are from AuthorTube and BookTube. It has poems, it has short stories. It was a delight to read, and is just the beginning of a series of anthologies that P.L. Summers is putting together. When I think about these 2 books and which one should advance, as much as I enjoyed The Realm of Enchantment, The Drowned Kingdom by P.L. Stuart is hands down one of the best fantasy novels I have ever read. Very impressive. I loved the main point of view character who just starts out as such an arrogant person. So The Drowned Kingdom is advancing. Our next pairing is for mystery, thriller, and crime. Here we've got Butcher's Crossing by John Williams, who is not the John Williams who does the music for Star Wars and other movies. It is up against A Man Called Trent, a Western duo by Louis L'Amour. This book was part of my reading because June on the Range, you were supposed to read something by Louis L'Amour, and the pick from Roger's Cheap Old Book Club, and then I added in Ombre as well. Butcher's Crossing is also a Western story, but being a book by John Williams, it is much more reflective and philosophical than your typical Western, and that is the main reason it is going to get the win and advance in this category. The Louis L'Amour book really is two different books that have been paired together, and there's not the best transition between the two of them, unfortunately. The next category is horror, and I've got two books from NetGalley here. The first is Howls from the Wreckage, an anthology of disaster horror, which was a great collection of short stories. It is up against Summer Rental by Rectock Ross. I put this in the horror section. It's a mystery thriller with some horror-esque elements. Thank you to NetGalley and the publishers for providing a free ebook copy of these books. They were both fun to read. At the end of the day, though, I'm going to advance Summer Rental by Rectock Ross. It was a fun read. I recommend it if you want some thriller suspense in your life. Then we've got science fiction coming up next, recommended by John from Hey Y'all Listen Up. I've been reading Isaac Asimov's robot books. So here we've got this main trilogy. After previously I've looked at short story collections with Isaac Asimov's robot stories, this is where we've got a real pickup in book-length narrative style stories. Caves of Steel is the first book in this trilogy, and it was a true delight. It is up against the second book in the series, The Naked Sun. Something that I really liked about these books is they are really mystery science fiction. You've got a detective character who's investigating. He's got a partner, and one of the reasons I'm going to give the win here to The Naked Sun is because I liked how the partners were reunited in the sequel. But I also really enjoyed the way that Isaac Asimov looked toward the future and how people would be interacting in society, which I felt was captured really well in The Naked Sun. It made me have inner reflections about our society today and where we are going. And I always enjoy that with science fiction. Coming up next, we've got a pairing of classics in which I'm going to go ahead and throw in the third book in that trilogy. I was so excited to read it. I just read all three of them. It is called The Robots of Dawn. It is up against a true classic of general fiction, historical fiction if you want. It is Stoner by John Williams. This book was recommended by Joanna from Joanna Reads, and my goodness, it is one of the best books that I've read in a long time. So Stoner by John Williams is going to advance. Really, for The Robots of Dawn, being the third book in that series, I felt like they did a lot of things that the first two books had already done in the third book, so it was less exciting. But Stoner was a powerful work about a man who becomes a university professor, a teacher, and it was interesting to see all the obstacles in his life and how all of that came together. Highly recommended. Next category is non-fiction. I've got two books from NetGalley here, so once again, thank you to NetGalley and the publishers for providing a free ebook of these. The first one in this set is Everyday Shakespeare, Lies for Life. It's by Ben and David Crystal. This was a fun read. I always appreciate a book with a butterfly or moth on the cover. That always looks cool. But they took lessons, ideas, quotes from Shakespeare and littered them throughout the book. I think if you're looking for just a small book that you can flip open and see quotes from Shakespeare and reflect on them, this would be a great book for you. If you're not into that thing, though, probably be a waste of a purchase for you. The next book is The Price of a Small Hot Fire. It's by E.F. Schrader. It is a poetry collection that is very powerful, very emotional. It is getting the win out of this pairing. I just felt more of an emotional reaction with this one than the other book. That brings us to our last category. Every month I give myself a chance to just pick whatever I want to read, which of course is going to be extras from other categories often. It's the wild category. And I've got the first book in this category as a buddy read with Alan from over there at Big Hard Books and Classics. It is A Column of Fire by Ken Follett, part of the Kingsbridge series, which had Pillars of the Earth and World Without End. Such a wonderful series. This was a fun one to read. When I was doing the buddy chat with Alan back and forth, I was commenting to him. The beginning of the book book just wasn't capturing me like Ken Follett had done in his other books, but that's okay because once it got to the end of part 1, I was hooked. It just took a while to get there. It is up against The Tipping Point trilogy by Alan Dean Foster, one of my favorite authors growing up, one of the best movie, film, adaptation, novelization authors out there. This is his own creative work. The Tipping Point trilogy. It's got The Human Blend, Body Incorporated, The Sum of Her Parts. These books were really quick listens with audiobooks, easy to get into and get through. Unfortunately, in this comparison, I think Ken Follett beats out Alan Dean Foster. It's always tough when I've got some of my favorite authors against each other, but Ken Follett's book, A Column of Fire, is advancing. Let's go ahead and pop up to the top of the brackets and find out what's going to advance from our quarterfinals. This first quarterfinals pairing, we've got Ombre by Elmore Leonard up against The Drowned Kingdom by P.L. Stuart, and I feel bad for any book that comes up against the juggernaut that is P.L. Stewart's The Drowned Kingdom. I just love that book so much. It's advancing. Then we've got Butcher's Crossing by John Williams up against Summer Rental by Rectock Ross. As much as Summer Rental was a fun read, I had much more of a reflective mindset while taking in Butcher's Crossing. So, a book that makes me think is usually going to get the win. Butcher's Crossing by John Williams is advancing to semifinals. Then we've got Isaac Asimov's The Naked Sun, Book 2 in that robot novel series, that trilogy, up against Stoner by John Williams. Both of these books made me think. Both of these books were fun and interesting reads, but John Williams' book Stoner is also a juggernaut of literature, so it's getting the advance here. And our final quarterfinals pairing, we've got the poetry book, The Price of a Small Hot Fire by E.F. Schrader, up against A Column of Fire by Ken Follett. I always feel bad for poetry in these competitions because inevitably poetry doesn't end up making it to the semifinals and finals usually. Ken Follett's book is advancing. Now let's look at the 4 books in semifinals. We've got P.L. Stewart's A Drowned Kingdom, which is fantasy. We've got 2 books by John Williams, Butcher's Crossing, which really comes across as a reflective western, and Stoner, which is definitely literary fiction. Way to go, John Williams. That's half of our semifinals, though paired oppositely, interestingly enough. Then we've got Ken Follett's book, A Column of Fire. It's historical fiction. All right, back up to the top. P.L. Stewart's book, A Drowned Kingdom, up against Butcher's Crossing. This is going to be an easy victory for P.L. Stewart here. A Drowned Kingdom was just amazing. The twists and the turns, the surprises. It went places I was not expecting a fantasy book to go. Such an amazing book. It is advancing to finals. Well worth it. And then we've got Stoner by John Williams up against A Column of Fire by Ken Follett. Stoner is going to advance. They're both really great books and interesting. That gives us a finals round of The Drowned Kingdom by P.L. Stewart up against Stoner by John Williams. And this is such a difficult decision to make. I'm just going to make it a tie. That's right. This month, we've got 2 books that are my best read of the month. Representing fantasy, we've got The Drowned Kingdom by P.L. Stewart. And representing literary fiction, historical works, we've got Stoner by John Williams. It is a true classic. It is going down in the classics division. That means I can go ahead and update my genre wars counter, putting them both in there. And we can update our brackets for our big end of the year book battle, putting them both in there. We will put P.L. Stewart's book as the official winner, and then we will put Stoner over there in the wild cards. And I've still got some more room. We might have another tie or 2 as the year continues. I greatly appreciate you. I love the online YouTube, BookTube, and AuthorTube community. So many of you have been leaving great comments. So many of you have been talking about the books with my writing in it on your YouTube channels and in your community discussions, and I greatly appreciate that. It's been been a lot of fun just hearing people, whether they are reciting poetry that I've written or putting on skits based on the stories and Half Human Heroes, which I edited and compiled together, or just taking a look at the book, discussing the authors and the content inside of it. It's been amazing partnerships and collaborations. I highly recommend that you get the Stygian collection as well as Half Human Heroes, of course. Bottom line, thank you for all the support. I probably won't bother with a currently reading TBR for July because July is practically over. You're about to get another reading wrap up for July. Take care. Every day is a good day for a book battle. Peace.